Joe Biden has won the American presidential election. The BBC projects that he's crossed the threshold of 270 electoral college votes needed with a win in the state of Pennsylvania. He will now become the president in January, pending the outcome of any legal challenges. President-elect Biden has now won 273 electoral votes, though that amount is likely to go up as he's also ahead in several other states. The Trump campaign has indicated their candidate does not yet plan to concede. We will be heading to the Democrat headquarters in a moment. But first, let's talk with our North America editor, John Sopel, who's outside the White House in Washington. John.
Yes, when Donald Trump left the White House this morning to go and play golf, counting was continuing. Nothing had been declared. By the time he comes off the 18th green, someone is going to have to tell him that Joe Biden is president-elect and that the race has been called for him. Now, Donald Trump is not conceding anywhere near. His lawyers, his legal team insist they're going to fight, and they have got grounds, although what those grounds are still not clear. Nevertheless, Joe Biden, at the age of 77 and exactly 48 years after he first became a senator, is now going to become America's 46th president. And it should also be added that Kamala Harris will become the first woman vice president, first woman of colour in such a lofty position in America. Outside on the streets in Washington, the soundtrack is of honking car horns. The tension has been relieved after 5 days of waiting.
After 4 long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election. We can now project the winner of the presidential race.
At just after 11 o'clock this morning, the decisive and historic call was made. Joe Biden will be America's next president. It came after the latest batch of votes from Pennsylvania, which meant he'd opened up a 30,000-plus vote lead over his rival Donald Trump.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
In cities across America that tend to be more liberal, the party is starting to celebrate Joe Biden's victory. People honking their horns, hugging in the streets. This morning, Donald Trump went off to play golf, something he'll soon have a lot more time to do. Although the reality of his situation was made clear to him as the motorcade swept into his golf club. The president throughout has been tweeting furiously, going full caps lock. One read, "I won this election by a lot." Last night, Joe Biden gave another holding statement, increasingly confident, assured that the tide of history is flowing in his direction.
We don't have a final declaration of victory yet, but the numbers tell us it's clear, tell us a clear and convincing story. We're going to win this race.
Biden, at 77 years old, will become America's oldest president. In temperament and outlook, he is the opposite of Donald Trump, but he'll inherit a bitterly divided country. The president is determined to fight. His lawyers are fanning out across the country. But what's the case? There are allegations aplenty, but substance is thin. It may be that Donald Trump's tenure is ending, and the word that he hates the most will attach to him: loser, as he moves towards the exit. John Sopel, BBC News, Washington.
Well, for the president-elect, now 77, it's not only been a long few days waiting for this result, it's been decades trying to fulfill a lifetime ambition. Mr. Biden announced his first campaign for the White House back in 1987. Our North America correspondent Nick Bryant joins me now from the Democrats' headquarters in Delaware. Nick.
Tina, it has been such a long political journey. It began in the early 70s when he won election to the US Senate. It took him to the West Wing, where he was the vice president of Barack Obama. But now he will sit behind the desk in the Oval Office. The White House will become his home. He loves quoting the words of the Irish poet Seamus Heaney about when hope and history rhyme. Today, that's happened for him.
Got one of the most electrifying smiles in US politics, and how he must be rejoicing now. At the age of 77, Joe Biden has fulfilled his personal American dream. He's about to become the occupant of the White House. This former vice president was the candidate who offered soft jazz after the heavy metal of the Trump years.
Hi, Morgan. How are you? It's great to see you.
Easy listening moderation, a presidency Americans could have on in the background.
8 years of Donald Trump can fundamentally change who we are. I really mean it, in a significant way.
He was never the most inspiring of candidates, but his geniality made him hard to demonize.
Mr. Biden, a quick word for the BBC.
The BBC, I'm Irish.
Joe Biden.
The White House has long been the target of his ambitions. He announced his first presidential bid in 1987. And he tried again in 2008, but ended up getting the second slot as the vice president to Barack Obama.
This also gives the internet one last chance to talk about our bromance.
Despite the generation gap, they developed a bond like brothers. It was sealed when Barack Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Recognition to this pillar of the Washington establishment, of his decades in public service. His personal narrative is one of recurring grief. In the early 70s, he lost his first wife and baby daughter in a car accident. 5 years ago, he had to bury his grown-up son, Beau, who died of cancer. It's a life story that found an echo in these sorrowful times.
I'd like to be able to say we're going to be back to normal next Friday.
The coronavirus meant he spent much of the year sequestered in his Delaware home. He almost became the invisible candidate. At a time when the method of campaigning became a campaign issue in itself, he kept his social distance and cast himself as the anti-Trump, almost portraying this election as a battle of good versus evil.
If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness.
From when the results first started coming in on election night, it's been a sometimes fretful wait for the supporters of Joe Biden. But now they'll be able to celebrate. This finally is his moment. 2020 is his year. Nick Bryant, BBC News, Delaware.
This US election has seen the highest turnout since 1900. So far, Mr. Biden has won more than 73 million votes, the most ever for a US presidential candidate. Mr. Trump has drawn almost 70 million, the second highest tally in history. Our North America editor John Soport joins us again. John, what happens next?
What happens next is we wait to see what Donald Trump does. I don't think there is any sign that he is going to concede anytime soon. As I said in my report, the word he hates most of all is loser. But Donald Trump, if everything stays as it is, and there's no reason to believe that it won't, he will become only the third president in the last 50 years to fail to win a second term. He will join Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush in that kind of hall of infamy, if you like. And so Donald Trump will want to fight. Joe Biden, though, is going to go full steam ahead, as if everything is normal, that he is going to proceed according to all the constitutional norms. He will start getting security briefings, his security detail will be beefed up, and he will start acting as the President of the United States. And his number one job, of course, at the moment would be, when he takes office, to deal with the coronavirus, but on a more grandiose scale. It will be healing the divisions of America after 4 years of a very divisive, unique president. And that will take some time. There will be challenges aplenty for Joe Biden, but at the moment, he is going to enjoy this moment of celebration.